now what we're gonna do is take all of the objects we already did. We already worked on for hours.
Spending on modeling and everything,
one scene
and bring them together into one scene.
So let me hit F12
and basically assembling everything together to make our
what I'm
little
going to do is
computer
go up
scene.
to File.
So I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to Import.xsi.
And I want to make sure that I turn
the default options
this
on,
option for normal,
except for the normal option. I want to activate that. It's extremely important that you do that. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to start with the first object in my list, which is computer. Double click it to import it.
So here's our computer. Let me change my shading.
Here's our CPU. Let me switch to shaded view. Let me turn on wireframe on shaded.
I'm going to also go to my
display options here.
And go down here,
scroll all the way down, and
turn
activate
on
enable headlight and specular.
So I can see a little bit better.
This way I can see better. There we go.
So here's the computer.
So here's our computer,
our CPU that we did.
That we modeled earlier.
Let me go ahead and turn off.
Let me hit G on the keyboard to turn off the grid.
So here's our computer. It's called
computer. It has the name. Everything's good to go.
Now I'm going to go File and Import again, but I don't really need to. I can hit
import everything.
Actually,
again,
yes, I need to.
We have to start importing all of our objects.
I'm going to go to Import
over and over until we get them all in. So let's go back to Import.xsi.
I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to bring in the
next object in the list is the computer desk.
Double click on that.
Double click that to bring it in, and there it is.
Desk came in. Here's the desk. It's one single object.
Now the first thing you'll notice is that
the two objects
are
obviously
different sizes. They don't match up. But don't worry about that. We're going to fix that in a moment.
But that's actually
first we want to import everything into the scene, and then we'll fix that up.
So the first thing we want to do is
let's go ahead and import the other stuff in.
So I'm going to hit the period key, which is
now I'll hit the period key to repeat my last action, which was the import action. That way I don't have to go up to the file menu.
Keyboard, so let's bring
I'll go to keyboard, which is the next object in my list, and import that in. And here's my keyboard. It's inside my CPU.
If we hit 8 on the keyboard
to open up an Explorer, we can see the list being populated in our scene.
So let me go ahead and go back.
So let me go to File. Let me go to Import.xsi.
Hit OK.
Hit OK. And next object is the monitor, so I'll double click on that to get that in here.
And you can see it updating the list.
And it updated in the list. I'll hit the period key.
I'll bring in the mouse.
I'll import the mouse.
I hit the period key.
I'll hit the period key again, which repeats my last action, which was the import action.
Bring in the pen.
I'll double click and bring in the pen. Period key again.
Bring in the
this time I'll bring in the post-it note.
Hit the period key
again.
Hit OK.
This time I'll bring
in the power strip.
Period key again.
Nothing is matching up.
We can see nothing's matching up. So let's go ahead and click on the speaker here. Double click it and bring it in.
Which are somewhere in there.
It's somewhere in there. It's somewhere in that mess of objects. Let's hit period key to repeat our last action.
The USB
and import again. And let's import the USB.
And I believe there's still one more object we have to bring in.
Let's go to File. Let's go to Model.
This time let's go to Model.
Import Model. And CD case is the last thing to import. Remember, we exported that out as a model as opposed to a .xsi object.
Alright.
Okay, so here's all
so
our
we got
objects.
ourselves a ton of objects, and we can see
but it's
that
a
all
mess
of our
right now because they're all on top of each other, clipping into each other, and they're different sizes and scales.
We have to pick
one object that we're going to pick one object to be the master object, and everything's going to have to scale and conform to the size of that object.
So what is that object?
So what's that master object?
Any object we want it to be.
You can choose whichever object you want it to be, really.
But
for the sake of clarity and because it makes logical sense, I'm going to pick the computer desk.
I'm going to make the master object that everything's going to conform and scale to. Desk. So what I'm going to do is in this list,
select all the objects except for the
computer desk,
and let's hit H on the keyboard to hide it.
Let me select the CD case.
But if you hit H, you'll notice you don't hide this. You only hide this little null icon.
Master object of it.
So to hide the entire object, use the middle mouse button and click with the middle mouse button on top of the CD case in the Explorer list, and then hit H, and you'll get rid of it.
Now the only thing visible and the only thing I can work on right now is this
so now the computer desk is the only thing that we have to work on.
So I can have a sense of
to turn the grid back on, so we have a sense of size and scale here, which is very important for this.
I'm going to go to my scale
for this point in the tutorial,
and I'm going to use global. And
I'm going to make sure that I have
use
COG mode activated.
If I don't use COG,
and COG is turned off. I want to make sure COG is off, so I can scale off at the center of the grid, which is going to be exactly what I need.
And I'm going to scale this guy up.
So let's scale this guy up a little bit.
Now, there's one thing
before we do that, let me show you something here very important in terms of exercise and measurements. I'm going to hit F12 to bring out all 4 views.
That way I can frame
I'm going to hit the A key while I hover my mouse over each viewport to frame in on this
what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Shift
S,
and Shift S
on the keyboard, and it's going to open up this
for all of my
visibility options.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Visual Cues. I'm going to see this option called Ruler, and the ruler only works for top, front, and side views. So when I activate it,
and it's going to open up. Let's close
this
that.
camera
It's
view
going to open up
left alone because it's not the side
ruler
front
measurements
top
that go along the side. And these ruler measurements are going to go along the sides of our orthographic views.
They end up getting this ruler of measurements along
these measurements will not appear in your camera viewport. They only appear in orthographic views like the right view, the front view, and the top view.
Of new XSI users is, what do those measurements mean?
There's a common question of new XSI users, which is, what do these measurements mean?
Kilometers?
Do these numbers stand for meters, inches, centimeters, millimeters, kilometers?
The truth is, they can be anything you want.
Well, the truth is, they can be anything you want. They're arbitrary numbers, which means that they can mean anything. So that 10
centimeters
could mean 10 centimeters or 10 meters.
It can be whatever you want.
It could be whatever you want it to be.
You get to choose.
The numbers are there.
Whatever it is,
you get to choose whatever measurement you want.
That's how it works. So if that sounds kind of confusing,
so it may sound
don't worry about it. It's always confusing at first.
Don't worry about it.
I remember when I first got into exercise, it was confusing.
It was even confusing for me when I first got into exercise. I wasn't too sure about that measurement.
What I'm going to do,
but after a while, it makes perfect sense.
Just to show you that, to show you that you can use that for.
I just wanted to show you that you can use those measurements on your orthographic
views. I don't know. I'll scale it up to something.
To go ahead and help you out.
It really doesn't matter how much you scale it up.
So let's scale this desk up. I'm going to scale them up and make it a little bit bigger.
I think that looks fine.
So something like this looks pretty good to me.
I'm going to hit F12 on this viewport.
Let me hit F12 to maximize my camera viewport.
Okay, so now that we got this guy set up.
So now we got this guy set up and scaled and ready to go.
I want it to be left alone.
Let's go ahead and
I want to be able to touch
leave this object alone.
Mess around.
I don't want to be able to accidentally scale this object.
I'm going to use layers to control that.
So I'm going to use something called scene layers to control this.
There's a couple of ways.
There's a couple of ways we can
here to these
get to our scene layers. Down here where it says MCP, KPL, and MAT, we can activate KPL by clicking on the KPL tab.
Our main command
and it switches the main command panel to the key panel and layers.
And what this allows us to do
this allows us to
layers over here.
have access to animation layers, scene layers, and even our transform menu. Now this is a modeling tutorial, so we're not going to bother with animation layers. But if we go over to scene layers, this is where we have our scene layers.
We have this default layer that gets created you have this layer default that's created XSI.
Every time you start up a new scene
go to layers.
But click on the layers button up here and click on new layer, and we can create a new layer.
We'll call this layer.
So let's call this layer anything we want, really. I'm going to go ahead and call it finished objects.
And hit enter or
I'm going to hit enter. So click on enter or click on OK.
What I'm going to do is select this
So let's select the desk.
Then I'm going to right click on top of the layer
of that new layer
move selected
and click on
objects to
move
layer.
selected objects to layer.
What this allows me to do is it allows me to control
it
all
allows
the
me to
objects in
control
that layer
all the
like
objects
this.
in that layer.
I can turn the
So
visibility
if
on and off.
Uncheck the visibility
I can go over
flag,
here and turn
I can turn the
visibility
off.
So if I do a render region,
if I do a render region, it renders
by
out.
default.
Now, if I uncheck,
but
if I check this flag off, that's under RE, which is for render,
even though it stays in the viewport.
It won't render. It'll appear in the viewport,
but the main thing that I'm mostly concerned about here is this selectability.
But selectability
if I go
is
ahead
the main
and check
thing
that
I'm
off,
concerned
watch
about.
what happens.
It says SC.
I can no longer select my
See,
desk,
if I uncheck
and
that,
it becomes
anything in that layer becomes
so its
templated.
wireframe
It
appears
won't
in
move.
this
The
gray
wireframe
color
changes
to
to
let you know
gray color
that
to let you know that it's unselectable.
This is a very useful feature
and
because it allows us to have complete control.
This is great because it locks the objects in that layer down and doesn't let you accidentally mess them up, move them, rotate them, scale them, or even delete them by accident.
I'm going to hit 8 to open up.
So I'm going to hit 8 to open up my Explorer
window. And I'm going to start bringing these objects one by one,
unhide these objects
scaling
one by
them down
one,
to proportion,
scaling them down to the right proportion to match up with the desk.
And so I'm going to take this keyboard.
So let's start off with the keyboard. I'm going to hit H on the keyboard to unhide it.
And obviously the keyboard
is obviously in the wrong place. It has to be on top of the keyboard tray. So let's go ahead and put it into position.
I'll go up here into the top view.
Let me go into the top view.
And let me go to a shaded view. And
place it over here where the keyboard tray is.
Has to be placed.
We switch back to
wireframe.
wireframe.
Keyboard tray is
right there. So let's place it right here. We know that's where the keyboard tray is.
Now let me go over
here into a right
side view or a right view if you want to call it that.
And let's place it right on top of the keyboard tray. So let's place it up there so it's just barely touching.
So if I go into my camera
just make sure it's not floating.
I can see my keyboard is nicely placed.
So we can see the keyboard is nicely
placed on top of my keyboard tray right there. And in terms of the size, this is total freak coincidence.
This is kind of a weird coincidence that the keyboard actually matches up to the size of the desk. I did not plan this out. It's just kind of happening right now before both our eyes. So there you go. Lucky shot, I guess. So let me move this keyboard over to the left a little bit to leave some space for our mouse. Let's give it some variation so it doesn't look so stiff.
That variation, believe it or not,
let me just rotate the keyboard a little bit like this. And although it may seem kind of stupid, it actually adds variation to the scene. It makes it look more detailed and realistic. So if the keyboard selected, right-click on top of the new layer, and click on Move Object to Layer. So now that keyboard's part of that finished objects layer. And since I'm done with the keyboard, I don't want to mess it up, so I'll leave it alone. So let's select the monitor in our Explorer view. Remember that 8 is the shortcut to open up the Explorer view.
Okay.
So hit H
so
and then hide that monitor.
Is a bit big. It's not too good.
So the monitor is a bit too big. So we need to scale it and fix it.
And what I'm going to do here is let me go ahead and hit Alt and 6 on the keyboard.
Let me hit Alt and 6 to open up an image clip viewer.
I'm going to go to File.
And I'm going to import my reference image that I've been using a lot during this tutorial.
Go to Computer Desk here. And let me see which is the computer desk image
I was using. I'm going to grab the computer desk image that I was using. And it's not here.
I don't see it here, actually.
I guess I put it somewhere else.
I think
here it
this
is.
one. Yeah, this one.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and switch to zoom. Right-click on top of the image. Switch to zoom 2x. Bigger. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. I'm going to use this reference image to place everything.
Let's use this reference to place everything here.
Actually, it looks like the keyboard should be a little bit bigger. I could fix that later.
Now, the keyboard, according to the image, looks like it should probably be
bigger. The monitor
bigger.
does have to be smaller.
So I'll scale that up later. Here the monitor has to be scaled down. It's too big.
Let me collapse that.
Let me place it on top of that shelf like in the image.
F12, and let me go into this right view.
And I'm going to switch over to my right view.
And I'm just going to move the monitor up.
And I'm going to move it up.
And I'm going to place it
on top of that shelf, which is right here.
Of that little shelf right there.
Okay.
All I got to do is move it over to the side.
Let's move it over on top of the shelf and look at that thing. That thing is huge.
And it's placed right on top of that shelf. Now,
but I'm going to run into a problem.
When I want to scale this down,
if I scale this, watch what happens.
See what happens?
Oh, that's no good.
Then I have to move it back
now I have to move it and place it again.
That can get very annoying.
That's very annoying, and it's actually a very stupid way of working.
It's actually really easy.
So let's do this the smart way.
If I hold down the
Alt on the keyboard,
and I click down here somewhere, you'll see that my cursor has the word snap under it. That means that if I click down here and hold down the mouse button and drag, I can snap.
See that? As I drag around an empty space,
I can also snap
the point, the center point is going to go ahead and snap to the closest component.
The lowest edge right
and it snaps the polygons, edges, and points. So I'm going to snap it down to where it gets down there in that area,
point is going to be
down there on the bottom.
So now when I scale, it scales downward like that.
So now when I scale,
it scales
downward perfectly, so I don't have to reposition the height of the monitor on top of the shelf.
It's a little trick.
So it's a quick tip here, a quick little advanced trick that you can use.
That I would go ahead and show you right there because that can save you some time.
So that saves you actually a lot of time.
Looking at our image here,
so let's look at our image.
It looks like we got the right
scale it
size
down
for the
proportionally to the image we have here.
So
it looks like we got a pretty good size. Let me scale it up just a little bit.
That's fine. I think the size of the monitor
actually pretty good. Honestly, that's not too bad
right now.
It matches up with the image pretty good, pretty close.
We got it down right.
Close enough.
Also, let's go ahead and rotate this a bit.
So let's rotate this a little bit to give it some variation.
Person was sitting down right here.
So if a person was sitting down, they'd probably have the monitor rotate facing them a little bit. So that makes a lot more sense.
So I'm going to leave the monitor right there. All right.
Okay.
Now let's hit 8 to go back to the Explorer.
So I'm going to hit 8 to go back to the Explorer view. And I'm going to grab the mouse and hit H to unhide it.
And we can see we got a pretty big
mouse.
And
our mouse is pretty big. It looks like you can knock somebody out with that thing.
Let me take the monitor and let me place it.
Let's take the monitor and let's place it in that layer, the selected finished objects layer.
All right, so let's go into the right view again.
Let's go to the right view. All right, so let's move this mouse up in our right view over here.
And I'm going to go ahead and
we have to scale it down, obviously. And let's place it right on top of the keyboard tray right here.
Right here on top of my keyboard tray.
So that's not too bad. Let's go back to our camera viewport over here.
I'm going to move the mouse about here.
Right,
let's go ahead and look at our reference.
Let's look at our reference image and see the proportion.
So let's go ahead and scale it back up
again. Our mouse is kind of small, so let's scale it up. So we end up with a more reasonably sized mouse.
And I'm going to go ahead and move this mouse back a bit.
Move it back a little bit like this.
And I'm also going to
I'll give it some variation, so I'm going to rotate it a little bit.
Give it some variation again.
It adds to realism, helps to sell the effect.
Right, the keyboard,
now, the keyboard's too small back up again. So we need to scale it up.
So here's what I'm going to do.
Here's what I'm going to do.
I'm going to open up my Explorer view.
To open up an Explorer view, I'm going to select the keyboard.
And even though it's
locked down in the finished objects layer,
because I
the
selected
Explorer overrides that and allows me to still select the object. So the layer only protects it from the camera viewport, not the Explorer. So
now,
if we scale this up, we're
going
to end up with a problem.
Because what's going to happen
See, if I scale this up,
what happens?
It clips through the keyboard tray. So that can be frustrating.
I'm going to use the same trick.
So let's use this trick.
I'm going to hold down the Alt key.
Same thing with the monitor.
Hold down Alt
and left click and drag, and it'll snap that center point down here somewhere.
So it snapped.
So I snapped it to that edge right there on the bottom. So now when I scale,
the keyboard.
The keyboard is going to scale up, but it's not going to move from the top of the surface of the keyboard tray, which is perfect. So let's look at our reference image, and let's try to scale it up so that
and the mouse looks
fits the reference image pretty good.
So I'm going to leave
so the mouse and the keyboard and in reference to the desk looks pretty good. So let's select the mouse since we're done, and let's add it to the finished objects layer, and we're done with that.
Let's hit 8 to open up our Explorer view.
So let's hit 8 to open up the Explorer view. Let's grab the pen.
Unhide it.
H to unhide it.
And that's one big pen.
And that is one big pen.
Baseball pad.
That looks like a baseball bat, actually.
Beat the crap out of somebody with that thing.
That could be pretty dangerous. So let's go ahead and scale this guy down.
Let me go inside the pen here.
So let's go inside the pen. Let's hold down Alt
right there,
and snap the center point to that little point right there.
I'm gonna go over here into my side view.
Let's go to the right view.
And I'm going to place it right on top of the glass.
And let's place this object right on top of the glass surface, which is about right here. The glass surface is somewhere about right there. Okay.
Okay. Now I got to scale it down.
Now we have a problem.
And my pivot
point
that I
moved
didn't stay
my
there.
center point.
When I deselected
it didn't stay.
I came back,
when I deselect the object and come back, the pivot point moves.
Why is that happening?
Why is that happening? Let's go to the
we don't
MCP
have COG
and find out.
On, so why in the world is that happening?
The reason that's happening is we have to turn on a certain option. Let's go to the transform menu, and you'll see an option down here called Modify Object Pivot. It's off right now. Let's turn it on by clicking on it.
Every time you modify an object pivot,
when this is off,
and
every time you modify the object pivot point,
go to work on
every time you leave the object and come back, it gets reset
back to its
That's
original
not good
position.
in our case. So if we check this on, what happens is that the pivot point
demands
is modified forever. It stays in a modified position forever unless you change it. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to check that option on. So now let's move it and snap it right there with the Alt button. When I deselect this object and come back to it, you'll see that the object pivot is still in the position where I last left it.
In case
that's what I want.
Keeps resetting
so if it keeps resetting and that happens,
why that keeps happening,
and you're wondering why,
that's
why it's happening because of that option in transform menu. So let's scale this guy down.
We have a pen here.
Now I can't see a pen in our image, but it doesn't matter.
We can go ahead and use
just
our
drop
own
a pen in
imagination
there.
Here.
Let's use our good judgment. Based on the size of the keyboard and the mouse, I can imagine what a human hand in that case would be. And I think the pen should be around this size right here.
So I'm going to go ahead and place
And I'm actually looking at a pen in front of me on my workstation compared to my hand, my keyboard, and my mouse. And it's pretty much this size.
Rotate this.
So I'm pretty sure you have to have a pen lying around. Just look at the size of it with the mouse, and you get a good idea of what to scale it down to.
Turn on COG.
So let's activate COG over here and switch to global mode, and we can rotate this. But you can see it's rotating kind of wobbly.
We really want to get it perfectly on
If we want to get it perfectly to rotate,
what we can do is snap the
let's hold down Alt
vertex that's
and
right here.
left click right here on that point, and it'll snap the pivot point right there to that point. Now when we rotate, it rotates perfectly, kind of like the
see that looks almost like a drive shaft.
Kind of like a drive shaft or something.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is
now what I can do is rotate
this
so that little clip of the pen
is
touching the glass right there.
And then what I'll do is I'll just move it over. It doesn't really matter where.
And I'll give it a little bit of rotation for that realistic variation. Okay.
Now I'm going to select that guy.
Let's select it, and let's switch over to the KPL again.
But in case you want to work with the MCP,
let's say you want to work with the MCP and your layers
what you can do is use shortcut 6 on the keyboard. 6 on the keyboard,
which is a shortcut to open up the layer view.
You don't have to be going to
and you don't have to go back to the KPL all the time. You can just do it from here. So you have access to your layers from this little floating window, which is perfect.
Let me go ahead with that object.
So with the pen selected, right-click and
object to that layer.
Click on Move Object to selected layer, and there we go.
All right,
so pen's done.
Let's open up our
the Explorer. 8 on the keyboard is a shortcut. Let's grab the Post-it note, which is next on the list.
Again, H.
Hit H.
I'm going to collapse Explorer so I don't have to open it all the time.
I'm just going to collapse the Explorer so I don't have to open it all the time.
Okay, so here's our Post-it note. Now the Post-it note has to go on the monitor. Now we don't have Post-it note on this monitor.
Is not shown in our reference image.
I thought it would be cool to just
But I thought it'd be cool to show you how to do that.
Extra detail.
So what we're going to do with the Post-it note is stick it onto the monitor.
Let's take this guy and let's rotate him.
My monitor in real life has a bunch of Post-it notes with tasks
and then we'll rotate him.
They're still waiting to be done.
Actually, no, we won't rotate him.
Shame on me. So we're going to place this Post-it note on the monitor.
We're going to go to a top view.
So let's go to a top view so we can go ahead and place this better. So there's our monitor. Let's rotate this guy
and place him here.
And try to place
it. It's a little bit hard to see.
It's a little bit hard to tell what we have to rotate and place.
Try to bear with me here.
But this is what we have to place.
You notice that there's an edge here. There's a blue edge. See this blue set of edges? Not that one. This one from there.
There's a blue edge.
There.
This edge right there.
Those blue edges.
We need to get that flat edge to be as close as possible to the monitor without
have this sticky adhesive that have to stick onto the monitor in real life.
So
what we need to do is
go ahead and take
go ahead and place that
go ahead
correctly.
and rotate it.
Let's rotate that a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and sort of just put it into position. Zoom in here. I want that blue edge here to go ahead and match up with the monitor.
To make this
easier, to make this easier,
hold
down
the edge of the monitor right there.
And we're going to snap our object
right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to alt
to this last point right there in that corner of the blue edge.
So now I can rotate.
So now I can rotate from this position.
It's going to make things a lot easier.
And it's going to make things a lot easier for me.
And it's going to just
so here we can see we need to rotate it a little bit more.
For us to go ahead and
so I'm using the middle mouse button to rotate from here. So use the middle mouse button from here so you don't have to use the manipulator. We're going to rotate it to about here. So it's matching up pretty good.
Go over here.
So let's go over here to our camera view.
Let's go ahead and move that up.
Let's move it up. And we obviously have to scale it down.
About the size of a post-it note.
And I'm looking at my monitor in relation to the post-it notes that are stuck on my monitor in real life. And this is about the size that they are.
Move it locally like this.
So when we switch to local mode, it allows us to, if we switch to local mode, it just allows us to control this better.
So
and it's in its own local space.
Now it looks like it's interpenetrating a little bit right there.
No, it looks like it's maybe penetrating a little bit. Let me see.
Actually, no, it's not interpenetrating.
Actually, no, it's
actually
the post-it note is not clipping into the monitor, so that's very good.
So I'm going to scale it down a bit to make it.
So I'm going to scale it a little bit more.
And I'm going to
now it looks right. So I'm going to place it about here. I literally have a post-it note right now stuck to my monitor in that exact same spot.
Looks like they got some post-it notes there reminding them to do some tasks.
So I have a lot of post-it notes in my monitor, so I'm not going to put all the post-it notes on my monitor.
And you know what I'm going to do?
Duplicate this a few times and place a few. So let's take this post-it note, hit Control D to duplicate it.
I'm going to make a duplicate.
Move it over. Make sure you're in local mode while you're moving this.
So I'll maybe place another one right there.
So I'll place one there.
And
I actually have two in that spot, but I'm just gonna put one.
Let's take this one right here.
Let's take this one here.
I'm gonna duplicate.
I'm gonna hit Control D to duplicate it. Move it up. Move it over. We need to rotate it.
And then what I'm gonna do is
I need to switch to local mode here. So now when I rotate it, it rotates perfectly.
I'm gonna rotate this like so.
And let's move it out a little bit so it doesn't clip.
And put it down
I have about 5 or 6 post-it notes on that side of my monitor alone.
So it just adds another level of detail.
But I'm just gonna go ahead and
put all these post-it notes. And I'm going to right-click on top of my finished objects
layer. Let's select the post-it notes, right-click, and add them to our finished objects layer.
Let's go ahead and save our progress.
Make sure you're saving your progress as well. Let's open up the Explorer view, grab the power strip, and hit H to unhide it.
That's one big power strip.
That is one super huge power strip. That thing is super sized.
Let's go ahead and scale it down.
So let's scale this guy down.
Now,
but the pivot point is not where I want it to be. See,
but I want to make sure it scales down. It's not going to scale down. So I'm going to hold Alt.
So let's hold Alt. Left click over here to snap the pivot point
down
to that point on the corner. If we go to our right view,
I'm going to position this.
We can position
this. We're going to pretend like the floor.
Let's pretend like the floor is this line right here. See this grid line? Let's pretend that's the floor. And our desk is penetrating a little bit, but that's okay.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off point snapping.
Let
me hold down Control and snap that to the grid.
Hold down Control and snap this to the grid right there, so it snaps perfectly to our imaginary floor.
I'm going to go over here to my camera view.
And in the camera viewport,
and let's go ahead.
I'm just going to go ahead and move this back. I'm going to place this behind the computer because the power strip obviously is probably going to be back here somewhere. So I'm going to rotate it and give it some variation. And really doesn't matter where you place it, as long as it's on the floor somewhere. My power strip is behind my desk, just like that, just laying there on the floor.
I don't know, maybe I'll rotate it actually like this.
So I'll just rotate it however you want. Really doesn't matter.
Let me switch to global mode.
Let me switch over here to global mode.
It's a little bit easier sometimes to do these things.
Let's just move it over here.
I'll rotate it something like that.
Rotate it. I'm being really picky now.
Back here somewhere.
You can place it however you want. You can see I'm being pretty picky.
And the power strip looks a little bit big.
So the power strip is still a bit big.
So
I'm going to scale it down more. Something like that.
Something more manageable like that. Looks much better.
So that looks much better.
Select that guy.
Let's select this guy and place him inside the finished objects layer.
Go back to my Explorer.
We'll just say it's done.
Speakers.
Let's go back to the Explorer. Pick the speaker. Hit H to unhide it. And the speaker is really big. That's massive.
It's not exactly on the floor like it should be.
No, it's not on the floor like it should be. Let's fix that.
Let's go ahead and activate a move tool.
Activate your move tool, V on the keyboard, and then hold down Alt
down there, and let me see if that's
snap the point to the lowest component you can. So right now it's snapped to. Right now it's not snapped correctly.
See if we can snap it right there to that. Try to snap it here to this polygon.
Try to snap it to this polygon here.
Actually,
which
it's very
is
hard
actually
to do.
snapping in a wrong
Let's
place.
try snapping it to one of
Let's
these
snap it
points
to one
over
of these
here
points
instead.
over here. So there we go.
Okay, that looks good.
That point in the corner is pretty good. Now we can move it up on the floor,
Alright, so we
on
can
the
scale it
table
down,
and scale it down.
and then we could also move it and snap it to our grid.
Let's
here.
move it and hold down control to
Okay.
snap it to the grid right
But
there.
we are gonna have to move it up.
But we're gonna have to move it anyway, so it doesn't
now,
matter.
in this picture we have
Now in this picture we have a
speakers,
different type of speaker.
So the picture's not gonna
But I
really
like
help us too
this
much in
speaker
terms
that we
of
created
reference
is a
right
lot
now.
better. So
That's
let's
no big
just
deal,
use
though.
this one.
Let's go ahead
Obviously.
and move this into position. Let's go
So
into the side
let's
view
go
here.
to the right view here
Place
and
it right
place
on
this
top
right
of
on
the
top of the
There's
glass.
a pen, so let's move it away from
There's
the
our
pen.
pen. Let's get away from the pen for now.
So we'll place this about here where the glass
let's
is.
place this right on top of the glass.
Right on top of the glass desk.
And since
Let's
we
scale
placed our
this down a
pivot
bit,
point
something like this
in
looks more manageable.
the correct
and
place, we can scale this
even though it
down
doesn't
without
follow
having to
what our
worry about
picture
messing up
has,
the position
I'm
on
gonna
the
go ahead and put these
y-axis.
speakers up here. I'm gonna put one speaker.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a speaker on the glass and
Up
another
here
speaker
on
on
top
this
of this
shelf,
little table
just to
thing.
give it some variation.
So let me actually go to
I don't
my
really want
side
to
view
follow
here,
the image
since I decided to
perfectly.
change my
I want to do my
mind.
own thing.
I'm gonna have to redo this a bit.
So I'm going to
So
place
let's
this right
it
on top of the
this
shelf.
table. There's the table right
So
there, so let's place it right
There's
on top.
that little shelf table
You don't have to be
piece,
totally
surface
perfect
of it.
as long as
So
you're
I'm gonna place it
accurate
right
enough
on
to get
top
the job
of there.
done. That's what really counts.
And
So I'm gonna place the
it's
speaker
aiming
about here.
straight
I'm
ahead,
gonna rotate
so it
it
looks
a bit
kind of
like this.
weird and fake.
Whoever
So I'm going
uses
to rotate it
workstation
a
likes
little
that
bit
thing blasting
to
right
give it
at
some
them.
variation, some more
So
realism.
there's our speaker. Now we need two speakers. So let me
And
take
we need
the
two
speaker here. I'm
speakers.
gonna hit Control
So
D
I'm going to
to
hit Control D
duplicate
to
it and make a
duplicate this
duplicate of
guy.
it.
And this one I'm
Yeah.
going to place on top of the glass.
Now
It's
let's
not going
go
to be
to
on a
the
shelf. So let's
side
go
view
to the
here.
right view.
And I want this one to be
And
on
let's
the table
place them
glass. So I'm
right
gonna
on
place
top
it
of
right
the
about
surface of the
here on
glass.
top of the
Not
table
too hard
glass.
to do.
Again, it doesn't have to be totally perfect. Don't waste
And
20
once we
minutes
got
trying
it
to
on the
place this thing.
glass,
Place
let's
it in about 20
rotate this guy
seconds,
a
if
little
not
bit.
less,
Move
and
him
boom,
into
you're done.
position.
And I'm gonna rotate it maybe like this.
So I'll rotate him and turn him this way.
I'm gonna place it maybe on the edge right there. It's
I'll
about to
place
fall
him
off.
closer to the edge.
Now,
Now,
we don't want both speakers.
we don't
having
want both
controls for
speakers to
volumes
have the
because,
knobs for the volumes and things. Only
if you
one
look at
speaker
speakers in
should.
real life, they actually don't have that. I've never seen speakers that do.
I
So
haven't
what I'm
seen
going to do to
speakers that
change
do.
this one and make it look
So, let's
different,
make this
so
one
it
look a
doesn't look
little
like we
bit
just duplicated it and slapped
So
it
what
on
we're going to
there.
do is go to
Let me select these
raycasting polygon
polygons here.
mode by hitting U on the
Shift,
keyboard.
Select these polygons. Hold
So
down
select
Shift,
some of these polygons,
select those
hold Shift, and
polygons.
select the other polygons from the other knobs. Now hold down Shift
and use
hit
the equal sign next to the
equal
backspace
button
key
that's next to the
grow the
backspace
selection
key on your keyboard.
until you have
This will
all of
grow
those
the
selected
selection.
and hit delete
Keep
on the
hitting that
keyboard to
over
get
and
rid of
over
them.
again
So
until
now
you
these
pick
look a
all the
little bit
polygons
different.
from those
And it just
knobs
adds that
and
little
then
bit
hit
extra
delete
detail.
to
It
get
tells
rid of them.
people, look, that you really pay attention
So
to
that's
detail
a good attention to
and
detail.
you really know what you're doing.
It really shows
So let's
people
move
that
this.
you pay attention to
These
detail, you
selected
know what you're
objects to the
doing.
layer. Okay.
You really
Go back
take
to
your
Explorer.
time to know exactly what it
drive,
is
we're
that needs
almost
to be
done.
modeled and what doesn't need to be modeled. So let's go back to the Explorer.
Unhide it.
Unhide
That's
the
one
USB
big
drive.
USB drive, so we need
And
to
that
fix
thing is
that
huge.
real fast. Let's move it up here somewhere. It's going to be on
Looks
top
like you
of
could
this
lift
glass
weights
table.
with that thing.
We need to change our pivot point as well.
So we need to
So,
adjust our pivot
I'm
point
probably
for
going
this
to put the
object
pivot
as well.
point to
So
one of these
let's
points
see,
over here.
where should we
So let me
place
hold
this
down the
pivot
Alt
point?
key
Let's
to
hold down
snap,
Alt
and I'll
and
snap
snap
it
this
to
to one of
say
those points down here, one of the lower points.
That
There we go.
point
That's
right
a pretty
there
good
looks
spot.
good. Okay.
So now we can scale down from here, and
So
it's going
scale
to work
it
out just
down.
great. So let's
Let's
scale
place
it
it
down.
on top of the glass.
Let's
So going
place it
into
on
the
top of the
right view.
glass. So just go to the right
There's nothing
view.
over here in this
Move
space,
away from
so
the pen and the
I'll use
speaker and
this
all that
empty
stuff so
space
it's
'cause
easier
the
to
pen
see.
and the speaker are in the
Let's
way
place it
over
right
there.
on top of the
So I'll
surface
place
of
this
the glass.
right on top of the
So
glass.
right there is pretty good.
Like so.
It's still
And
too
then I'll
big.
just scale it down.
So let's scale it down.
And the USB drive should be, actually that looks like a good size
Now
right
I have a
there.
USB drive in front
it
of
does.
me that I'm using
Okay.
in real life.
So now all
I'm
I'm
holding
gonna
it
do
in
is
my
just
hand.
move it and
And
I
I'm
don't know,
using
I'll
it
place this
to
somewhere
adjust the scaling of this.
over here
So I can
somewhere.
use the
Leave
USB
this
drive.
around. Maybe I'll
I can
rotate
use
it
this
a little
USB
bit.
drive in real life to look at the size of my keyboard
Okay.
and the size of my
With that object
speakers and my
selected, I'll
monitor and
move into
everything,
this layer. We're
and
done with
determine
it.
the right size for
Let's
it.
go back
so
over
once
here.
I got
Let's
it
get the
positioned and
computer.
sized up,
Hit H
I'll just put it in the
unhide
finished
it.
objects layer.
There's our
Let's
computer.
unhide
It's a
the
pretty
computer.
Big, it's a pretty good size.
The
It's a
actual
little bit big,
CPU
though.
tower over
We're gonna
here.
have to scale it down a bit. Here's
It's
a reference
pretty
image.
big, not
Does
too
have to
big,
be
but we do
scaled
have
down
to
a
do
bit
some
so it
adjustments
fits on
to
this
it.
tray. Okay, so let me go to my front view this time. It's gonna be easier
Just
to
to the front view here and place it on top of the CPU
There's
tray.
my tray, and I'll put it
So
right
I'll
on
place it
top
right
of
on
it
top of it,
like
so
that.
it's sitting on it. We can see it's kind of big for that
And
tray.
obviously my
So we need to scale
pivot
this thing
point,
down because this is one massive
my
computer.
object center's off. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and I'm going to
So
snap.
I'm going to hold down Alt, and I'm going to left click and
say
drag and
this
snap my
point,
pivot
one of these
point
points down
to
here
one of these lower points.
That
And
looks good right there.
That point right there is going to work
And I'm
out
going to
just
scale
fine.
this guy down.
So let's scale it
I'm
down.
going to scale him down too much.
Not too much. We don't want it to make it look like a mini
I think I scaled
tower.
him down a bit
We want it
too
to look
much.
like a
Let me scale
regular
him back up
sized
again.
CPU tower. So let's put it into position
And
here.
that's a pretty small tray for such a big
the tray's pretty
workstation.
small, but doesn't matter. We'll just move this forward like
Scale
this.
it down a little bit.
Scale it down maybe a little bit more. kind of position it until we're happy with the position and the size.
Back.
So just tweak it till you get it just right. That's basically all I'm doing now. There's really no methodology or formula to this. Just scale it and position it till it looks right.
Real quick.
So let's look at our image to see if it looks right.
A little bit small.
It looks a little bit small.
Overdone it
for my taste. So I'm going to scale it up a little bit.
Like
and that looks a lot better. I like that much better.
So
let me reposition it a little bit.
Not exactly trying to be a perfectionist, but I just want to make sure it looks good.
Not trying to be a perfectionist, but I just want it to look right.
It's a very small tray.
So it's a very small tray, but that looks like it fits pretty good.
Okay.
So the size of that looks pretty good. So if the
layer.
CPU tower selected, let's add it to the finished object layer.
And the last object is the CD case.
And the last object is the CD case. So middle mouse button, click on the CD case in the Explorer.
Not left mouse.
That way you branch select the whole thing. Hit H to unhide it. And here's our CD jewel case.
Here's our CD case.
Thing looks like you can make a chair out of it.
Now, here's what I'm going to do.
So,
let me go ahead and...
Here we have this little null object here, which is the parent of the object. Those get created. So these little null objects are created automatically whenever you export out of XSI
and I don't like
as a model.
Being in control of everything right now. It's controlling my
CD
case.
Basically, the null is the parent of all the parts that make up the CD case. So whenever you take this little null object and scale it, rotate it, and move it around,
what would be a good CD size?
The parts of the CD case are going to follow along.
Something like this.
Because they're the children, they're parented to the null. The null is the master object, also known as the parent. So our picture has something like a cell phone or something in there. We don't have that. Let's not worry about that.
We'll just do it.
So the CD case
looks good. This looks reasonable.
I got a real CD case in front of me, and I can use it to see the proportions of it compared to my keyboard. I'm pretty sure you have to have a CD case lying around somewhere.
Okay.
Which you can use to pretty much look at the proportions in comparison to your keyboard and your mouse and things.
Glass table.
So let's make sure we place this right on top of the glass table. Let's move this down
to about here.
And again, you can control the CD case by controlling this little null icon.
Perfect. Okay, that's good.
Okay, so that looks like the placement's pretty good. The size is pretty good.
All right, now we got that done. What we can do is we can actually duplicate that CD case to make.
What I'm going to do is duplicate the CD case to make a stack of CD cases
on top of each other.
So let's do that, even though it's not in our picture. But let's go ahead and do it because it'll be pretty neat thing to do.
Rotate this guy a little bit.
Let's rotate this thing a little bit.
And if I have that null selected,
if I have the null selected,
and I hit
Control D to duplicate, it only duplicates that null.
Which is going to be useless to me.
What I have to do is use the middle mouse button and click on that little green null.
So that branch selects
the entire hierarchy of objects. So when I hit Control D, it duplicates the entire branch of objects.
I'm going to place this CD right there.
So with this object selected, or this object branch selected, we're going to move it and place it on top of our shelf here.
Right on top of this little table here, so right about
there.
So
about right there is pretty good.
Move it about here.
Move it back a little bit. Get it out of there because it's penetrating. Rotate it a little bit. So we rotate it so it's not penetrating that cylinder over there.
So if this null selected, here's what I'm going to do.
With this thing branch selected, I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate this. And I'm going to go ahead and move it up.
And place it right on top.
And place it so it's kind of just sitting on top of the lower CD case. So I'm going to make a stack of CD cases.
And I'm going to rotate.
And I'm going to rotate this a little bit to give it some variation.
I'm going to hit Control D.
I'm going to hit Control D.
It's going to create another one and give it variation as well.
And it's going to give it variation
as well. Problem is,
if
I do this too many times.
Now, if I do this a bunch of times,
it's just going to create this kind of spiral shape.
It creates this kind of
looks kind of
spiral shape.
I don't mind it.
It looks pretty awesome, actually. Looks like a stack CDs that somebody kind of accidentally bumped into.
And I mean, you can leave it like that if you want.
Now, if we continue the pattern, the pattern's going to be obvious and it's going to look unrealistic.
Go in here and make a stack that looks totally different.
So let's give it some variation.
Look so uniform and repetitive.
To not make it look so uniform.
What I'll do is,
so if this thing branch selected,
duplicate one more time.
I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate, and this one I'm going to rotate the other way.
Maybe I'll duplicate another one.
And then I'll duplicate again.
That's rotated.
But I have to move this one up a little bit.
This one up like so. So it's
like
not
that.
Penetrating it. Like that. Now it looks a little bit
so
more
now it looks more randomized, looks more realistic.
So
See that?
That's cool.
So that adds to your scene.
Cool way to randomize the scene.
It tells people and potential employers that you truly do pay attention to detail, which is really important.
Let's pick all of those CDs and things.
So let's take all those objects, right-click,
move all those objects
move them to the selected objects layer, to the finished objects layer.
Hide everything. We go to our Explorer.
So let's go to our Explorer. We can see that we finished. All the objects are placed.
So we're done
everything is
placing
scaled
these objects.
correctly. Our scene is totally done.
Everything's
We're finished modeling.
go.
Congratulations.
All we have to do is render this for a nice presentation.
All we have to do now
so
is render this out to present it in a very nice way to basically show it off.
And I'm going to go ahead and save
we're going to do that in the next video. So make sure you save everything.
And I'm going to end this video here. And in the next video, we're finally going to go ahead and render this out and make it look good so you can show it off to everyone you want to.